1, 2. Hi, everybody. How you guys doing today? You sound good. You're supposed to say we're wonderful and getting better. There you go. So, we're hot on the heels of being thrown out of the county executive's office.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you about that in my report. You might want to stick around. It's going to be pretty interesting. So we are called to order at 4:55.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that the young lady who's having an incident in the parking lot is safe. Is she safe?
Yeah, she's on the phone
Okay,
with the tow truck.
that's what's important. And I would entertain. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. Yes, microphone 1.
Sharon Flynn, Mount Rainier Elementary. I move that the agenda be adopted for flexibility, please.
Thank you. There's a motion made to, do we have a second?
Anderson Code Board of Directors, and second.
Okay. The agenda has been moved and seconded. Discussion, any amendments?
Sharon Flynn, Mount Rainier. I'd like to add an item to the agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
At the president's discussion, relatively early in the meeting, I'd like an announcement about how delegates and non-delegates to the convention in Ocean City can take leave, considering it's not, it's a Tuesday now.
Okay, can I handle that in the president's discussion?
Certainly.
Because I just got an update today, and I didn't have a chance to write it up. So I will put October the 20th, 2017, requirements. Amity?
Yes, I would like to be added under new business items.
You have a new business item that you'd like to present?
Yes.
Do you have copies for everyone?
No.
Okay. So that creates a challenge because some people need to see the new business items. So what I would, I don't mind adding you to the agenda with a new business item. However, can you get it in a written format before we get to that point of the agenda?
Yes. Can we project it on the projector?
Yes. Is this the community partnership
No.
one? Okay. I'm just wondering because I already have that on the computer. That's why I was asking that. Okay, so we'll add you under new business. What's the title?
Members. Funding members.
I'm sorry?
Funding members.
Funding members?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, in the future, people, your new business items need to be in writing for 120 people if you want to bring a new business item before the body. And I'm going to allow some flexibility because this is coming from a board member. However, in the future, if it's not in writing, you'll have to wait to the next meeting. Okay? All right.
Madam President,
Yes.
may I request to be added under appearances?
Yes, sir.
The topic is Golson student donation.
Yes, sir. Seeing no one else at the microphone, I put the agenda for the Monday, September 25th, 2017 meeting before you. All in favor? Hold up your agendas. Oh, you got voting cards? Okay. All right. All opposed? Thank you.
Somebody put the car.
As we have adopted this agenda with flexibility, we have a special guest here with us tonight. And, Amber, are you going to introduce him? I'm gonna let Amity Pope introduce him, our community partner chair.
I try.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I hope all is well with each and every one of us. So 2.5 years ago, I was invited to co-present at the NCUA conference in Washington, D.C. on community schools. And I was able to do that with Counsel. And as I prepared for the presentation, I was enlivened by the actual possibilities of what this work could make available, not only for our students, but for their families, for us as colleagues, educators, and the community abroad. So with the onset of my research and my doctoral program, I began, well, for those of you who know me, I wanted to hit the ground running with this. And, you know, sometimes when we go to hit the ground running with this, we get a bunch of stop signs. I want to apologize to you that I did that for 2 years because this information is vital and critical at this very moment. Sorry. So with the onset of my research in my doctoral program, I began talking about community schools to literally anybody who would listen. People in my department, colleagues, people are just like, what is it? Why are you so excited about it? You know, what is this? What is it? Oh, it's a month old? I'm too close to it. How about this? I don't want to go off on a tangent. Many people know I'll do that. So then I reached out to Counsel at the center at the time, the Center for Popular Democracy, and Frank Thornton with NEA, and I asked for their assistance and guidance and support with us. So to present, we formed a Community Schools Advisory Coalition, and it consists of internal and external members, some community elected officials and such, as well as a community schools cadre of trainers. And together we're looking to spread this word about community schools because now more than ever, it is needed. So while I'm very excited about this information being shared, I assert to you it is critical and vital to our world as we know it as educators of public education. And if after this presentation, you see this as a viable opportunity, like the members of the cadre and members of this advisory coalition, thanks. You'll be given an opportunity to join in this movement. So now I'd like to introduce to you Cal Surratt. Cal was the Director of Education, Justice Campaigns at the Center for Popular Democracy. And that's where he directed their educational strategy plan. He worked with partner organizations and education coalitions to develop strategies to bolster public education. And he comes with decades of campaign experience and has received various awards for his role in organizing and policy victories. Currently, he serves as the Senior Policy Analyst for the NEA, and the game is winning community schools. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce Cal Surratt.
Come up here. You have your clicker, you can do it from anywhere in the room.
I can walk around. All right, good evening, guys. All right, so we only have 45 minutes today in a presentation that usually can last. We have a whole community school institute on this topic, so we're going to cover some things deeply and some things we can learn a little bit more later. So I just want to start with a little bit of look so we understand where we're sitting. So this is a quiz. Who here likes quizzes, right? You guys are like, no, all right. This is our country by numbers. What does 98,000 stand for? Something. Number of students. I thought I heard it. All right, there are 14,000 school districts that house 90,000 public schools. Anyone know what that 6,900 figure is? Charter schools, actually, which is a good answer. 4,000? That's the number of public schools that have closed since 2008. Largely because of the number right above. 50 million, 40,000. Anyone have an idea about that? Number of students in public schools. 3.1 million? In charter. You see the trend. 5.1 million. 5.1 number of students in community schools. Anyone know this big number? I think it's like, is that the teacher salary here? 598 billion. What's that number stand for? Total education budget. And where does most of that money usually come from? Property taxes, right? It's in almost every geography you could find around the country. It's mostly local property taxes and revenue, a slice from the state, and even smaller slice from federal. 42 billion, what is that? Yeah, that's charter school funding. So 598 billion used to be $42 billion more. So, and 3.3 billion.
Community.
Good question, that'd be great. So, there's an asterisk behind it, so I'll cover this later. So, just to give you guys a sense of Prince George's County, we're a bit special here, in the sense that you're in a very small select group. So, we have, as we covered, how many school districts? Someone guessed that there were 14,000, right? So we have 14,000 school districts in our country. But if we look at the numbers, do you guys know how many students are enrolled in Prince George's County? 100 and something, right? There's only 21 other school districts in the whole country that share that characteristic. The vast majority of school districts in our country are very, very small. 4 schools, 5 schools, things like that. Big school districts, they're only 5 with 300,000 students or more. Think New York, LA, Chicago, and then only 3 here. That gets you down to Miami-Dade and beyond. And then here, just a small number. So you're in a large school district, which means that there's going to be some special attention paid to you. So let's just go forward just a bit. So this is a little bit of a hard question to ask you guys today, because you live in Maryland, and you have a really good charter school law. But I need to talk to you about the fact that there are some that don't like public schools in the United States. Is that, anyone disagree with that? Have you heard of Betsy DeVos? Is she a friend to Prince George's County? Is Trump a friend? So the question is, why do they want to scale up charter schools? So it gets to this question. Are charter schools public or private? They're public here. So that's why I said Maryland's a little bit complicated. But in general, are charter schools public or private? Anyone want to make that case? Private? All right, some brave soul, raise your hand and say, this is why they are private. All right, here we go. Private, all right. And what do we actually mean by private? Give me a name of a charter school that, is kind of popular out there. KIPP. All right, KIPP. So KIPP is, if you go, I don't know, is there a KIPP in Maryland? DC. All right. If you go to the DC Secretary of State, they have to file papers. They also have to file papers with the IRS, saying that they are what? A nonprofit organization. And what papers do you have to file if you're a nonprofit organization? 501c3 document. That's an IRS document saying that you are a private company that isn't for profit, but still you're private. So technically these are private schools, even though they call themselves public schools, right? So the largest charter school company in the country is this one called K-12 Inc. Now what's unique about K-12 Inc? It's online. And what's the other really interesting thing about K-12 Inc? It's traded on the stock exchange. Yeah, so the largest charter chain in the country is traded on the stock exchange. And this is like, we just copied and pasted from their website. K-12 Inc, free, on public schools in Louisiana. So they're calling themselves a public school even though they're traded on the stock exchange. Now the stock exchange, what's the like when you trade on the stock exchange, what's the purpose of that? To make money. Is that make money for the students in the buildings? For investors, right? It's literally their job is to make money for investors. So this is just an example, a far out there example that shows 98% of charter schools that exist in our country are private. They're not public schools. These are 501c3s and some of them are for profit. So the question becomes, yep. All right, the question becomes, why does Betsy the Boss, Donald Trump, why do they want a lot more of these? This is, I want to show you this. The amount of students enrolled in charter schools has doubled 3 times since 2000. 2000, 2004, 2004, 2008, 2008, 2014, and it continues to grow. This is the most recent figure. And we find that maybe this is a mistake and it's just something that's organically happening. I used to be a chemistry teacher. What's organic mean? I normally hear like carbon-based. All right, it's not, in this one, it's naturally occurring. So is it naturally occurring that we have huge percentages of charter schools located in big urban areas around the country? Or is there something inorganic happening? So here's something that you need to know. This is Broward, Florida. Charter enrollment grew. What happened to public enrollment? This is Miami. This is New Orleans. They have 0 public schools left in New Orleans. Milwaukee, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Chicago, and it doesn't come free. Let's just go back to LA. So Los Angeles has seen this trend, charter enrollment growing and public enrollment going down. And in 2016, they had to cut a check for $591 million to pay for those charter schools. That means they had to lay off teachers, they had to close programs, because it's one or the other. That's how it works. They haven't figured out a way to fund public education and the charter growth that happens there. That's the trends all across the country, happening in DC where I live too. So, the question is this organic or not? Is someone behind this? Or is this, do our lawmakers, which have on average 2 years of experience and 0 years of education experience, are they just coming up with this stuff? They're like, I have a good idea in Oklahoma, like I think we should have some more charter schools. Or is there something behind it? All right. Anyone want to make the case that it's just like organic, it's just happening? All right. Yeah. I'm like, sometimes I get that, don't raise their hand. All right, so this is who's behind it. So we researched this a number of years ago and found out who's behind the growth of charter schools and voucher schools around the country. And has anyone heard of the Walton Foundation? Okay, Walmart, right? And then the Gates Foundation, we've heard of this? Dell, Broad, the Voss Foundation, yeah? The Koch brothers? All right, so these billionaires thought 15 years ago, well, if we want to privatize education, then we need to get some power. So the one thing they have a lot of is money. So they created ALEC. Well, ALEC was a little bit, 1977 was when it was created, but they used that vehicle of ALEC. They created Democrats for Education Reform. They created a bunch of think tanks to say that their ideas were good ideas. They created the Road Superintendent Academy. They created a lot of things so that when we go and lobby at the legislature, we now have another force lobbying against a lot of what we're trying to do. So they call themselves the Pi Network now. Now raise your hand if you've heard of the Pi Network. All right. Everyone in this room should understand and know the Pi Network, because these are the folks behind trying to close down public schools in the United States. Their goals are to advance charter schools, increase the number of portfolio school districts. Anyone know portfolio school district? In New Orleans, it was called the Recovery School District. They took the bottom 5% of schools, they closed down the public schools, they opened up the charter school, and then try to make situations better. Therefore, eliminating teacher tenure, creating more tests, and grading schools A to F. A lot of this stuff hasn't come here yet, but huh? Okay. So they have, because they're billionaires, they have great graphics. I like their graphics. Pi network, that's pretty cool. Number one goal, charters and choice. 2, standards and accountability. That just means a lot more tests. And 3, educative voice. Isn't that great? They're really into educative voice, right? You guys should all be aware of them because guess whose agenda Hogan is trying to push? He's very popular in the state, I hear. But if you look at what he's pushing, it comes straight out of their book. Straight out. So the thing I want you to really know and maybe inspire you into action is that in 2007, the Pi Network had 12 organizations in 10 states. Not bad. They're making their way. In 2010, they had 23 organizations in 18 states. By 2013, 45 organizations in 28 states DC. And today, they have 77 organizations in 34 states. Now, who's paying for this? Those billionaires. No, those billionaires have enough money to pay for that. Without those billionaires doing this work, they wouldn't exist. So, if you wonder how this is occurring, it's all because of the scaling up of this structure that they've created all across the country. And you guys have heard of Maryland CAN? Like, that's one of the networks that is part of this whole thing. They're trying to make it more flexible for private operators to come into come into the state. So this doesn't feel good, right? Like having folks that don't believe in public education and that are saying we would rather privatize education rather than try to remodel it, if you will. So we're going to go to one more surprise, and then we get to the good stuff, right? Which is community schools. So we know their strategy, declare that schools are failing, take from the $598 billion, open up charter schools, close more schools. We know that 4,000 since 2008, declare that schools are failing. That's the strategy. Now they have, let's push the right button. Right. They have so much money, they can make movies, so they're about capturing public opinion as well. And there's Bill Gates who paid for it, and on Oprah. We love Oprah, right? But she is into the charter scene. So the other big thing I want you to know is that the federal government is one of the biggest funders of this. We've spent over $3.3 billion to increase the number of charter schools in the United States. This is before DeVos. So even President Obama asked for a 48% increase to increase the number of charter schools across the country. In DC, where we have 46%, we got a grant from the federal government for $20 million, free money we don't pay back, just to open up more of these schools. And it's tearing DC apart in various ways. So this is our landscape right now. And I want to tell you that even though the branding on charters is good, almost every single place where a charter school has opened, it's done worse than the public schools. In Michigan, 70% of charters were performing worse than the public schools there. Ohio, 75% of charter schools are rated D and F. They grade their schools, D or F, Chicago, the charter schools are underperforming public schools. Indiana, no one opens up a charter school to get a D and F, right? Everyone believes that they're going to get an A. And I don't like the grading system, but if this is the result, why do all these places keep continuing to grow the number of charter schools? Partially money, or maybe it's just ideology. We shouldn't have, public schools should be operated by private operators. So, now the other side, when I debate them in media or others do, they say charter schools and choice. We have some schools that are struggling. What's the answer? They say charters and choice. And what do we say? Well, we say, well, it's complicated, like in order to do education, we fall down like a trifold that's like 5 parts to it, that's color-coded, you know, and we've lost our audience. Because if you have an audience, you need to talk as simple as the other side, right? We can't just say education is really complicated, right? So we came up with our own answer to that, right? When they say charter schools, what do we say? It's a 2-word thing. Community schools. Now, so I'm going to let you in on something. Community schools have been around since the turn of the century, Jane Addams, etc. They've had these schools. There's 5,000 of these around the country. But we needed to be way smarter with our language. We couldn't say education is complicated when the other side, in a 10-second snippet, in a debate that happens on cable TV, that say education is complicated, or this is how you fix public schools, they cut you off right away. So you need to be able to say things quite clearly. So here's where we get into some good stuff. So first I want to talk to you about results. In Texas, Webb Middle School, now it's a K-8 school, in 2009, it decided to turn into a community school. This used to be the lowest performing school in all of Austin. Now, it's the highest performing Title I school in Austin. In 2009, it became a what? A community school. So their graduation rate, if you track the middle schoolers that then go to high school, is 48%. Now it's 78%. Not bad. Of course, their test scores, that's how they got to be the highest performing. They don't have like various indicators, right, as you should. But one thing I want to show you is, look at enrollment. What happened to enrollment between 2009 and 2016? It more than doubled, right? And now this is like a choice environment. You kind of send your kids to anywhere. So why would it have doubled? Yeah, people just want to go. No one's forcing students to go to these schools. No one's making them go. The thing that I want you to really recognize is this school did not become a selective enrollment school. It did not become, not that there's anything wrong with that, but the community schools take everyone who's in that building and they just implement the strategy to achieve better results. Yes? It's not that it's on a farm in Austin. It's free and reduced meals. I've actually had the question a lot. I should like unabbreviate it. It's like 97% of them come from a farm. And still now 98% of them come from a farm. So they did not change the level of poverty in that school. They did not change the ELL population. They just worked with the students who were there. Now, this school is the feeder to that school. This is Reagan High School. In 2009, a boyfriend came into the school and stabbed his girlfriend to death, and the superintendent was under a lot of pressure to close the school. This was back in those days when closing schools was in vogue. It's like, how do you make schools better? Let's close it. So the community rallied, and they said, well, we want to become a community school. So look at what happened to their enrollment between here and there. And their attendance rate grew from 88% to 95%. See what happened to their graduation rate? Now it's at 90%. Student mobility, anyone know what that is?
It's helping them out to schools within the school year. Moving in and out of the school.
Yep, I think everyone's heard that, transferring in and out. They were able to improve that too, which means a lot of ways they've stabilized families, right? And this is like one that I really love, is that they had no college level credits back in 2009. In this last year, 12 students earned an associate's degree before even graduating from high school. So they've been able to do some amazing things. But this is just like 2 schools. Has any district done this at scale? Well, you gotta guess. I'm gonna tell you our district, right? So anyone here from Cincinnati? Sometimes I can have those people tell a story, but I'll tell it to you. In 2006, they had no community schools. This was the lowest performing district in all of Ohio, the whole thing. And now, 45 of their 52 schools are community schools. they were able to cut their achievement gap from 14.5% down to 4.5%. The graduation rate for the whole district used to be 51%, now it's 82%. And they're the highest performing urban district in Ohio now. And there's one other part that I want to focus you in on, because I'm going to show you something later on there. 85% of students were dropping out by the 10th grade in the neighborhoods had lower price health, and now 62% are going to college. So when we are fighting with the other side, because we don't live in a education monopoly anymore, right? There's like a lot of other options out there. We have to lead with results. We can't just say community schools. We have to say this works sustainably over time. And it's not like we're experimenting if we wanted to do it in Prince George's County, right? This has worked all across the country. I could give you examples from Tennessee and California, even in Maryland, Wall Street Academy, and Benjamin Franklin, up in Baltimore, in Minnesota, Florida. You know the whole state of Kentucky turned their schools into community schools? They call it Friskies there. They love the name. I went to go visit their Friskies, and they look pretty good. They used to be like ranked in the 80s, back 49th, 50th, and today they're ranked 9th highest graduation rate, 13th lowest school dropout rate. They're doing a lot better than they were back in the 80s. Oklahoma, etc. So, yes.
Can you show us a slide with a state that has a large student population? You said there are only 21 that fit in that category. So how does it work there?
So Texas has a huge student population. So the Austin ones work really well there. Florida, which I just glanced past it, but this is Florida. This is a school that used to be rated C and is now BC. They grade their schools because of what the Pi network is. So it works kind of everywhere. It's just it's like a research-backed strategy. It works in rural places like Kentucky. It works in suburban places. It works in urban places. But the thing that I want to talk to you about for a second is that the vast majority of community schools that we found didn't transform one thing. Like literally like 95% of them that we went and researched and went to understand, they didn't transform a thing. They called themselves a community school, and then they had the same graduation rate, they didn't achieve their vision. So that wasn't that. Anyone know what that looks like? I would say it's root beer, right? The best community schools. I travel a lot, and you have to like drink an IPA in the airport. But if you want to see the best community schools, it just occupies the foam layer. So there's a lot of community schools out there that aren't transforming stuff. So what we wanted to do, and obviously the analogy breaks down when you say you want a lot more foam, so someone can help me out with that. We're going to skip through things because we don't have enough time. But here we go. When we studied what the best community schools did, they all did the same thing. So it was going to be bad news if we researched all those community schools and we didn't see a difference between the ones that called themselves community schools versus the ones that had transformed dramatically. The best community schools that occupied that foam layer, number one, they hired a community school coordinator that served on their leadership team. They took a pool of candidates that may have applied, maybe it's your lead teacher, that may have applied to become an assistant principal or principal, and they hired a person to become their community school coordinator. The second thing they did was they did a deep needs and asset assessment. So this basically means that you are going 75 to 100% deep with families, students, and staff, and community. What is a needs assessment, by the way? You just kind of find out the needs, right? not rocket science, right? But what we found in the community schools that didn't work really well is they went and surveyed 5%, 2%, and imagine why they didn't get the results that they wanted. The best schools really had a clear understanding of the needs in the building and the assets that they have. And the community school coordinator's job was to work and build a community team and a student team and a staff team and a family team and spend 6 months to a year thinking about the needs and the assets within a building. And you might be thinking, I work in this school, I could tell you 90%. We don't even spend a year on that, right? But I think what we found is that even if we know what's wrong in the building, sometimes we don't know why. And understanding the why, and even the stakeholder engagement that's involved there, is really important. Plus, if we know that the schools that didn't transform, didn't go to 75% deep, the ones that did only went very deep, you should probably do the things that the ones that did. All right, moving back. The third thing is they all formed these problem-solving teams. So after they had a clear understanding of the needs inside the building and the assets, they formed these problem-solving teams to solve the problems that they had. Now, I want to show you, you guys remember that place in Cincinnati that I talked to you about? And they had an 85% dropout rate, and how many are going to college now? 62%, right? So Jamie is the community school coordinator. These are the problem-solving teams that she set up in this school. 2 primary health teams, 2 mental health teams, a vision team, a dental team, an after-school team. There's several academic teams. This is page 1. This is page 2. This is page 3. This is page 4. Now sometimes I'm in front of a crowd and just pretend you guys are all principals. I know, do it. But yeah, put yourself in that role. And I say, I'd like you to do a year-long needs assessment, and I'd like you to form all these problem-solving teams, and I want you to do your day job. What do you think they say to me? It's not a long conversation, right? Because just like you guys, they're getting there early and they're leaving late, right? It's just a long, everyone is working hard in the schools, right? So it's the best community schools, and this one, which had a dramatic turnaround, 85% dropping out, 62% going to college. Jamie is doing a lot of work to solve the problems that have historically been there. Community schools that get better are not fixing poverty, right? They're not like, Cincinnati is not all of a sudden Silicon Valley. But what they do is they mitigate the effects of poverty so that you can get to a place where you want to go. And any school could be a community school. It doesn't have to be the most impoverished school. It could be in middle class and rich neighborhoods too. There's lots of good examples of that. So the question for everyone here is, when is the PI network coming for Prince George's County? And what are they which schools are they gonna point at? Right? And you might know the list off the top of your head. And when they point at those schools and they say, those students deserve better, look at these scores, are we going to say it's complicated? Or are we going to proactively move in and say, we're going to grow community schools in Prince George's County and take it on, so if anyone comes here, we say we have a strategy for these schools, and it's sustainably worked all across the country, it's research-backed, and anyone heard this thing called ESSA?
Okay.
So every student succeeds at? It's explicitly mentioned in ESSA as something you can do to improve schools. So that's why when Amity introduced this, we've been working for, I don't know, like in some ways a couple of years, but intensively for the last 6 months to think about how do we scale this here? Because we don't want it to be a top-down thing. You guys ever get something happening in your building where they say, here's the new thing that's going to fix everything? Yeah, it kind of happens all the time. And by the way, those things that they say, you can find research on them that say that thing that they said was going to work. The research will show it works, right? But what they'll say is it can work. So we want this to be a top-down thing that people hear from the principal, and that happens. That's not how we do it, right? Membership organizations, we want to build a base of people that say to our school board, we want community schools here, and let's scale this like Cincinnati did. So that we're not, as A, we get to our vision, and that's what we want to do, but B, we're not vulnerable to those who want to fully privatize one of the biggest districts. Because one slide I glazed over is that they're not going to the small districts. They're going to the big districts. They've concentrated all of their efforts, and we're going to scroll way back. They've concentrated all of their efforts in 15 states and in just a few select districts. So we go all the way up. Oh, I think I upset the system. This is my computer. So we can see all, but I do want to show you this. I just want to go all the way up. Now, well, trust me, they're going for the biggest things. So what we have for you is, are they passed out, like all these?
Yeah, but it's my story. Raise her hand. She has some extra cards over there for people who may not have gotten one. But these cards are passed out. And I think Sheena and oh my goodness, what if I use that? Like name escapes me. People went around and passed these out. So are we ready for this now, Cal?
Yeah, pass this out.
All right, so if you need an extra, just raise your hand and we'll get one to you. But now is, I mean, you've heard what you've heard, and this is what's happening. Like, for some it could occur as a really bad nightmare. For others, it's like, you know that this is happening as well because you keep abreast of the things that are happening. There was an article back here that the governor, that was just, how many people got the article when they walked in? Yeah, so, I mean, it's happening. It is happening, and we can do something about it. There's a coalition that's already started. You can be a part of it. There's also an advisory board that you can be a part of as well. So the card that you have, join the community schools movement. On the front, on the back of it, right, your name, your email, phone number, the schools that you support, and or the schools that you are working in currently. Check if you're a supporter, and whatever else applies to you. We're gonna have the members, Norman and everyone, please come into the aisle. And I feel like I need some music, maybe a drum roll, but not really, because this is a serious matter. So, cool. Pass the cards in, work, and the person on the end can collect them.
And if you have any questions, does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, so, yeah.
Here.
Yeah. Oh, my sign-up sheet. So, actually, you all, I'm sorry for the question. Those people that want to sign up, the sign-up sheet is, I think, still on the printer. So I'll have clipboards and put that at the back table. If you want to sign up, you can write your name. Check if you want to be a part of the advisory coalition or the cadre, trainer to trainer.
Yep. Question.
We had one area that was local here. We had a Baltimore.
Yeah.
Did you go to that? Like how did you address families that weren't really reached? Like how did you address the families that were working for a job and still trying to figure out their needs? Is that
How does the community schools try to do that?
well when you're trying to gather like the information, the needs
So
before you start?
when the process on starting a community school, so the question is like, how do you get input from parents that are hard to reach, that are trying to start with jobs, like the gamut, right? So first, how long do we give for the needs assessment? About a year, right? So you come up with a plan, you create a team, and that team, sometimes you already have some people that are involved, right? So you just take that team and you just work towards getting them at the football game, getting them at the basketball game, sometimes it's home visits. You work to try to figure out where people are and you go after them, right? It takes a long time, but it's worth it. So that school in Baltimore is the one that, there's one called Brookfield. It used to be ranked one of the lowest, but now it's ranked number 2 in Baltimore. So they figured out to get parents and communities well engaged. All right, so I've heard 2 things that I need to do. Number 1 is, I'm a resource here because I live in DC and my parents live in Prince George's County, so I'll be here at lunch, right? But number 2 is the support card here. We need to pass a school board resolution here and support a community school to get them to dedicate money and resources to this thing. So signing that will help us push for that piece, saying it's our priority. Number 2 is, I think I've run out of time. So thank you guys, and I'll be in the back if you want to ask any questions.
I want to thank Kyle and for his commitment to this community school concept. We have, I've seen this reiterations of this presentation several times, so I wasn't being rude trying to run around the room. It was, kind of knew what he was going to say to y'all today. And I think that one of the most important things, Megan, raise your hand for a second, in the back over there. One of the most important things, can you stand up? Megan's from MSCA. Oh, you just say you were standing up? I'm sorry. Put on touch. Megan's one of my favorite people at MSCA. Don't anybody else tell you anything else than that. She's smart, and she's innovative, and she's got great ideas, and I like Megan a lot. She's very helpful to us as a local. And Megan is here because one of our issues is all of those people that donate money, the Cokes, the Walmart Foundation, all of those people have no problem digging in their pockets and working to shut public education down. Betsy DeVos has made the Department of Edu crazy, okay? And we cannot be distracted by, you need to fire all of the sons of bitches. We can't get distracted by that. He wants us to be distracted by that because then we're not looking behind the curtain and seeing the mess he's doing over the Department of Education. So I'm just telling you, don't let that stuff distract you and keep us off of our purpose. And that is what our mission is to advocate for our members and for quality, equitable public education for our children. So I just want to add that on because when it comes time for payroll deduction and signing up for payroll deduction for our fund for public education for our children, go ahead and give a couple of dollars. People are going to come asking you in the next couple of months because we need candidates that are going to stand up for us. And I'm going to talk about that some more under my president's report. But I just want to let you know that this presentation is really more than just community schools. It's also about keeping your eye over your shoulder and watching what the elected officials are doing, because that group ALEC that he talked about, there is a delegate from Frederick County that took one of ALEC's laws, which was crazy, and introduced it in the Maryland General Assembly, almost verbatim. He forgot to even take some of the stuff on it from ALEC. That's how silly he is. So we're watching them, and we're going to share more information with you as the elections come forward about our candidates and what we need to do as an association to make it happen. So I'm going to get back to our agenda. And thank you, Kyle. Let's give Kyle a hand again. I don't know where he is. Okay. We got the minutes done. Donna Christie.
Excuse me, you have another appearance?
Oh, I'm sorry, Charles.
I'll be very
You took
brief.
my agenda, that's why.
Yes, ma'am. 3 weeks ago, you may have seen the local
Yes.
news story about the 7th grade student at Golson Middle School who was forced off a bus 2 miles from his home, and as a result was jumped, robbed, and lost his shoes and his cell phone. I have not gotten a response from the school. I asked 2 weeks ago, so I would like us to give what we can, put to the family for maybe a pair of shoes for the kid. I'm going to start this around. If any of you are uncertain about it, the Washington Post Express news article is attached. Thank you, Madam President.
You're welcome, Charles. Okay. You took my agenda. No, I had handwriting on it.
Good evening. I have allergies, so I sound terrible, so I'm going to keep this brief. I have a written report for you to review. The highlights are we have our annual audit coming up. We're preparing for that. Our accounting software is being transitioned to QuickBooks, which will be a lot more efficient. And we're in the process of doing our end of the year reconciliation. That being said, the budget committee met 2 weeks ago, and we have started putting into place a written process for how we're going to do our budgeting process going forward. And for all of the committee chairs in the room, part of that is going to involve you generating a projected budget for next year, so that we have that in advance when we're building the budget. If you have any questions, email me at all.4.alina@gmail.com.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented. Okay. Yes. Microphone 2, yes. Mark McMorro Matthews, not second that. You make the motion?
Oh, okay. Make a motion that we accept Christie's treasury report as it's
Rick Beard, second.
Greg Beard is second. All in favor? Can you take no one else move the microphone? All in favor, raise your voting cards. All opposed? Okay, moving right along. I need the NECC in here. Last month, Donna Christie was elected treasurer. Woo, woo, woo. And so we're excited about that. And as a result, we had nominations for folks who were interested in running for the vacancy that was created by Donna, being moved from a board member to the treasurer. So now, I believe the NECC is going to come forward, and we are going to hear from the candidates who have submitted their names to be considered for board of directors. And here comes our NECC. Let's give them a hand. They work really hard. Can you, before you start passing things out, can we hear what it is that people are going to need to do? That way, everybody is on one accord.
All righty then. Good evening. We're handing out this little card. On the card there are 3 people listed that are running for the special seat for the board. Greg Beard, Marvin Burton, and Sunil Crutchfield. Greg Beard, raise your hand, babe.
Raise your
Do
hand.
they have to speak?
Stand up. Stand up.
Yes, they have 2 minutes.
Okay. So Greg Beard, Marvin Burton, and Sunil Crutchfield will have 2 minutes apiece to do a quick speech. You all can come up here. That would be just Danny.
All right, Marvin.
Marvin.
Tennille and Greg is coming. All right, so once they finish their speeches, our Sergeant at Arms will time them, let them know when their time is up. Once they finish their speeches, we will hand out the ballots. You will vote. We will collect the ballots immediately. We will collect the ballots immediately following the votes. We will go back there. When it's time to hand out the ballots, hold up your orange voting card and we'll know who can vote and who can't. And we'll collect the ballots from you. Go on the back vote. We'll find out tonight who is the new board member. Right now, we're listening attentively to the... Oh, there's a lot of side chatter in here. It's too much. All right, so...
Excuse me, hold on. Whoa, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Can we hear me? Wait a minute, hold on. The microphones are very hot, especially that one. So you don't need to be too close to it, because when you get close, it gets distorted. If you stand back a little bit, the microphone does what it needs to do. So, it's okay.
All right, then I'm going to start all over again from right here. This is your voting card. These are the people giving speeches. When they finish their speeches, you're going to vote. We're going to give this to you. If you have an orange voting card to say, yes, I'm a member, I'm a voting rep, when you show us the orange card, we give you this card. You're going to vote, we're going to collect it, then we're going to count them. Everybody good? All righty, not yet.
Is this good?
Excuse me. I'm going to ask that people be polite and courteous, because when you're running for office, it's hard enough and it takes a lot of courage. And these people are coming before you to share with you why they want to represent you on this board of directors. So I'm going to ask you to be polite and courteous to them as they give their speeches, because I know that's what you are intending to do, right?
Good evening. When I was PTCA UNISERV in the 1980s, a middle school in the southern part of the county had painted a mural that depicted a Confederate flag on the wall. I had the school removed. Now everybody's jumping on that bandwagon. Back then, I filed over 100 grievances and only lost one. I filed grievances on blue curses to yearbook punishments. Lewis Robinson and I were staff gunslingers back then, but I felt the need to go back to the classroom, and with the help of another teacher, we created Maryland's first in-house educational program for incarcerated juveniles, your students. It's now been copied all over the country. DC is a copy of my program. That was 17 years ago, and we're still going strong. You see, my commitment to my students and my fellow teachers is whole, complete. I want to be that person on the board that you can rely on. I've been through many negotiations and know that you get an education when you read the fine print in that contract. And an unfortunate experience is what you get when you don't read the fine print in the contract. I'm really tired of so many of us being thrown under the bus. That happens so often now. Our nickname should be Greyhound. If elected to the board, I propose PTCA create a task force or committee to consult with any teacher accused of unprofessional behavior. We always get some kind of punishment or malign, even if the accusation is totally false. This committee will help you fight the liars. As Johnny Cochran would say, if it ain't true, we gonna sue. Also, this committee or task force will counsel teachers and provide assistance on how to file a citizen's complaint with juvenile services. DG?
Yeah, wrap it up, Greg.
Thank you. Vote for Greg Beard.
I'm sorry if that was not clear. They have 2 minutes to speak, and Charles is timing
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marvin.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, fellow rep council members, staff, and guests of PGCEA. My name is Marvin Burton, and I am a servant leader who would be honored to serve on the board of directors. Mr. Robert Greenleaf, in his essay on the servant as a leader, describes a servant leader as a person whose primary focus is on the growth and development of those they serve. This is a service-first mentality predicated on win-win instead of win-lose. The council for which I chaired served in this manner for 8 years. We passionately represented Unit 1 members at a Title I school building that housed 8 different principals with an average 60% teacher turnover rate. We had blackout days, prepared petitions, met monthly with administrators, and resolved conflicts as units when a leader-first mentality seemed to reign supreme in our administration and the area offices. This summer, I had the pleasure of supporting efforts to strengthen our membership. The most enjoyable part of the work was the chance to listen and learn what drives members and fee payers to organize and participate in a great or small way. We cannot forget what CEO of the Rock Nation, Sean Carter, said when asked about decisions, laws, and policies of our dear president, bless his heart. He stated, in quote, "It's people attached to these laws. These things are going to affect real people. It's simple. You all are real people with real kids that go to real public school education. I am one also." I agree, it is simple. People are attached to everything we do, and PGCEA negotiated contracts, our marketing materials, our website, our social media sites, our protests, our legislative stances, how we spend our money, how we earn our money, who we associate with, even our personal conversation about PGCEA are all connected. I ask that you vote for me, not for me, but vote for me because I will represent you. Vote for Marvin Burton.
Thank you, Marvin. Sunil? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I ask for your vote for number 1, as Alice Walker would say, the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. I say that because over the past 5 years, I was in a situation where I had to fight. I saw teachers hurt time after time, and I decided enough is enough. That's when I decided I'm joining the union. I joined the union back in 2007. And in 2007, I saw there was work that needed to be done. So I decided I'm coming to work. As you can see, if you look amongst the website of PGCEA, I'm constantly out working. I'm marching, that's my face you see. I'm going to MSEA. I'm moving about because I see there's work to be done, and I need to produce. With that being said, I'm a voice, I'm an advocate who may never have helped those who need to be heard. I'm a voice for those who feel like they have no voice. My colleagues confide in me quite often. And the reason they confide in me because they know over those 5 years, I was able to turn our school around. Our school now is a peaceful place to work in. People love coming to work. So I plan on, with the issues here, pay, principal accountability, are just some issues that I plan on working with my board members as well as Gundy to help support the teachers. We need a voice, somebody who can, as my name is Crutchfield, you can lean on me. I will be there to hear and help you and support you. My name speaks for itself. I ask for your votes so I can continue to support teachers, my colleagues, a voice that do not have a voice.
Okay, so you've heard the candidates. So what we're going to ask you to do is to go ahead and vote. Hold up your ballot card coming out, hold up your orange voter cards.
I know. What you say? Load it up. They're gonna do it, they're gonna give us a card.
Elizabeth, can you get cards for the board of directors? Can you get voter cards for the board of directors?
Wait, I gotta do some people in here.
Or did we get them? There we go. Okay. You give them.
I need more. Should we go ahead and collect them?
Okay, moving forward. The other thing, the election that we need to have tonight is today, we need to select one of you to be on the endorsement committee. So let me share with you what the endorsement committee is. Every time there's an election, PGCEA meets with candidates and we give them questionnaires and they respond to our questionnaires based on what our issues are. Are they in favor of community schools? Are they in favor of restorative practices? Are they willing to fully fund the budget? Are they going to stand up on adequate public facilities and make sure that the schools that were being promised when they built all these houses are being built? Those types of questions. So, several years ago, the endorsement committee took on a new vein, and it was decided that it was important that there should be a building representative on the endorsement committee. The endorsement committee is comprised of the president, the vice president, the treasurer, 4 members of the board of directors, elected from within the board of directors, the government relations committee chair or chairs if there's more than one, and a representative from the rep council. And also the chair of our Fund for Children, and I know I saw Ria Needy here somewhere. Did she stay? There she is, Ria Needy, who is chairing our political action committee, our fund. So what I need to know is, now let me tell you what you would need to do to be on this endorsement committee. Your responsibilities will be that you will meet with the members of the endorsement committee to review the questionnaires that all the candidates are going to send back to us. Then we review them. Some of them we interview, some of them we don't. Because if they're cray-cray on the application, we don't have to even interview them. We know they're crazy, okay? However, historically, we've really tried to interview as many people as possible and are reasonable about giving people the opportunity, because if you're not a teacher, you may not know our issues. And that was why we held a candidate information session about a month ago where anybody who was interested in running for office so that they could come and hear what the procedure was going to be. So what we need to do today is I need for you to nominate someone and select someone to be on the endorsement committee. Now, if you want to be on that committee, you can go up to the microphone and say, I want to be on the committee. There's no shame in that game either. If you want to send somebody else up there for you, that's fine too. You want a moment to think about it? I'll move on the agenda and come back to it when the NECC comes back. But is there anybody who's interested in serving on that committee? Monica, can you go to the microphone and say your name, please? Okay. Go ahead.
Monica Roebuck from Business Pastor Middle School. I would like to participate in the endorsement committee.
Monica Roebuck, is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Gail Flowers, Carrollton Elementary, I'd like to run the position.
Gail
Flowers.
Flowers. Go ahead.
Speak right here.
No.
I'm trying
You knew the answer. Say it again.
Devon Davis Friendly High School.
Devon Davis Friendly High School.
Devon.
Levon.
I'm sorry.
Jovan.
Jovan, okay, I'm
Oh,
correct.
go ahead.
Jovan,
Yes.
Friendly.
Friendly High School.
Gail Flowers is from
Carrollton Elementary.
Carrollton. And your name, dear?
Caroline Adams from Port Towns Elementary.
Caroline Adams from Port Towns.
Damn, the whole puppy now. Everybody.
Yes, ma'am. Can't hear you. Keyshawn Hunt Brown. Okay. I see microphone one.
Makia Cadet, Office of Employee Performance and Evaluation.
I got one more over here. Annette?
I would like to nominate Robert Wilson.
Robert Wilson from what school?
Riverdale Elementary.
I knew that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I want you to come up here right now. Monica, Gail, Jovan, Caroline, Keshana, Micaiah, and Robert. Come right up here. Okay, so we have a minute to tell people why they should vote for you for this endorsement committee. Okay? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Charlton.
You should vote for me because I am currently involved in voter registration, mobilization, and get out the vote. I believe that it's very important that we choose the right people who are going to represent our interests. And we have to know who our candidates are. We have to know who our representatives are. I'm currently involved in that work now, and I would definitely work hard to vet the person who would represent us and represent our education in Prince George's County Public Schools.
I'm Gail from Carrollton Elementary. I have worked in the public sector for many years, other than education.
People got to be polite.
And I feel that it's important that we have the best candidates and to be a part of the committee that vets them so that we have the right people to vote for, who we want to keep in office, who will do the best for us. Thank you.
Okay. After you speak, can you come stand over here, please? Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Caroline Adams. This is my third year as an educator in Prince George's County, but prior to becoming an educator, I spent my career as an education advocate. I served as a lobbyist in the state of Wisconsin, representing students in the University of Wisconsin system, I've worked on the federal level as an advocate for Head Start programs. So not only do I have the experience, but it's something that I'm very passionate about. So I hope to be elected to the committee. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Robert Wilson. This is my first year.
You guys are talking out of order.
I'm okay.
Was that Caroline Davis? So Caroline Adams, Keyshawn Hunt Brown is next. The Jovan should have been up there. Come on back. Let Jovan go. I want to do it in order.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jovan Davis. I'm a recent graduate of Prince George's County Public Schools, not too far ago. I came back because I love my community and I love my schools. And I witnessed several things going on in the schools that I did not want to see happen to other students like me. In short, I've watched political games from the moment I've been able to recognize them. 6 years old was the first time that I was able to watch an election. I listened to the rhetoric and saw through the lies. And that's something I want to continue to teach our students. Standing on this endorsement committee not only will allow me to see who's going to put their first hands on my babies in my classroom, but also allow us to give our voice and say, this is what we stand for, this is what we will accept, and this is what we will not accept. And if you can't get with that message, then please exit stage left. Thank you.
Keyshawn Hunt Brown.
Good afternoon. My name is Keyshawn Hunt Brown. I have been in Prince George's County for about 6 years. Prior to that, I came from New Jersey, and I've served as an election judge in previous elections. I'm interested in joining this committee because I feel like we need a voice in order to stop some of the atrocities that are occurring with our current students and with us. That's all I have. I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Micaiah Cadet, and I have been in Prince George's County since I was in 5th grade. And I believe I went to college here, I graduated, got a job here, I stayed here, and I think it's about time, and I do mean about time because I was an English major, that we hold people accountable for what they're supposed to do. And I mean holding our union accountable. I mean holding our state legislators accountable. It's time that someone do their job because we are held to a higher standard, so why not them?
And Robert Wilson.
I can talk now? Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Wilson. I'm new to the district. I'm actually from Baltimore.
Be more.
Spent most time in Baltimore public schools as well as Baltimore County private schools. I actually rescind my nomination. I was in the bathroom and I came in and somebody said I was nominated. So but I am very passionate about getting involved in this community, and I would love to do things that I'm aware of doing and being a part of. And I'm flattered, like, I appreciate it. But I don't think right now I qualify. There are a bunch of passionate individuals over there.
In all full disclosure, I must say that I did get an opportunity to visit Robert's classroom last week or the week before because he was one of our peak winners and he won a clicker thing, a real fancy dancing one. So it was a pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to come to your class that day. So here's who I want here. Right in order. Monica Roebuck, Gail Flowers, Jovan Davis, Caroline Adams, Caroline, Keyshawn Hunt Brown, Micaiah Cadet, and we're going to take Robert's name off if he's in. Okay? So, the NECC needs to pass out index cards so that everybody can vote?
How many?
Or, you know what? I got a better idea. This really's gonna work. That orange paper that you had, tear it in half and write the name on the, one half of it, and then hold it up in the air and the NECC can pick it up. How many committee members? Let me clarify this because there was a question. I'll wait. There is one person to serve on the endorsement committee. If in the advent that person is not able to serve, say something should happen, then I will go to the next person on the endorsement committee as an alternate. Okay, yes. Yes, yes.
We would prefer, I'd love all of these so people can at least serve who they want, so I have to
Okay, so, excuse me, you will not boo my NECC. Okay? What I will ask of you, listen, if you can't read your children's handwriting, it's a 0. Okay? If they cannot read your handwriting on that paper, you get a 0.
No, that's right.
At least that's what I did in my class. So please print neatly. And I need cards for the board of directors. Thank you. And the members, people up here need voting cards too, because they need to vote section cards.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
Everybody like, don't you get a type on it.
You need a pen? Yeah, here. Don't give it to
What's collected?
Okay, NECC, can you pick up the... Madam President, we need a ballot. We need a ballot. We can't count. NECC is requesting that we do a ballot. You cannot do handwriting, please. Adrian said she'll have to do it. It's doable. It's doable. Okay, so if I could speak to the chair of the NECC, please. She's gone.
Oh, well, yeah, you override. You do executive order.
Okay.
Respond now. I say let the building reps do it. The community schools they were talking about.
Okay. You know what's the beauty of a committee? They're a committee, and they are standing solid together, and I'm going to honor that space that they're in. So what they have requested, because it's difficult for them to read names, is they're going to type up a ballot while we finish this up. Those of you that are running, we have it, and we're going to do it in about 10 minutes, because I want to get this meeting rolling. I'm going to honor the space that they're in right now. So let's do that, because when I have a whole committee saying, Mr. President, I got to listen to that. Okay? All right?
Understandable.
So, back to the agenda so we can finish up. Amity, you had a new business item. Did you type it up? No. go into the president's report now. Well, they tore them in half. Okay. Okay, so. Okay, so I'm going to go through my piece, and then I'm going to have the negotiations team come up and give a presentation. The past month has been kind of unusual for PGCEA in that we showed up, we spoke up, and we stepped up. And I want to thank all of you who showed up at the Greenbelt Labor Day March. I want to thank all of you who showed up at the school board meeting last week, because about a week and a half ago, because your presence was felt. Your presence was felt because you were supporting our negotiations team. And I want to thank all of our members who've been wearing blue every Wednesday, because your presence has been felt. Your presence was felt so much that I was asked to leave the county executive's office today. Now, it takes a lot to get thrown out of a room, but I've been thrown out of better places. Today was a meeting that I thought was for the 4 unions to meet with the county executive to discuss the issues that we're having about labor relations and administrative leave problems, and how they have been working on the administrative leave issues that have plagued us over the last year. So when it got to be my turn to talk, I explained that administrative leave is a problem. And it is a very big problem, and that's why we had a 15% turnover last year. And of course, the school system is standing by there saying that there wasn't a 15% turnover. However, I know how many people we bought lunch for at peak. I know how many people go to our orientations for new staff every Thursday. And though I only have my BA plus 60, I do know how to count. So today, when we were at the meeting, they were talking about the administrative leave, and I shared some of the problems that we're facing. I shared with them some of the problems at Riverdale Elementary School, which is so over capacity that the children in that school are eating lunch in their cafeteria because they can't fit them all in time to have lunch and get them out. And they're starting to eat lunch right after they ate breakfast. Talking about Rogers Heights Elementary School, that's way over capacity, in Port Towns and Cool Springs. Should I just go down the list? And I think I could feel that there was some discomfort, because I was sitting right close to the county executive, like our executive director is right now. And one of the staff members from the school system made an excuse about the videos that we have been asked to watch and spend 8 hours of our time watching off the clock and not being compensated for. And so I'll give the county executive credit. Hold on now, it gets better. I'll give the county executive credit because he told him, I don't give a F about that. He said, I know what we are asking people to do and what I'm asking my staff people to do, and asking people to do some things that is not part of what they should be doing is wrong when it's beyond their duty time. So I was like, okay, cool, we got that. So we're sitting there, and then the conversation turns toward climate and what the climate is like for educators right now. And after the other folks spoke, I had wrote down in my book, I'm not going to read it verbatim because I don't want y'all to throw me out of here. I said, life is like a S sandwich. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Life is like a manure sandwich. But I use the S word because they were already cussing. So, life is like a S sandwich. The more bread you have, the more S you're prepared to eat. Because I told them that the first meeting when I sat down with Dr. Maxwell, I said, do you have any idea what's really going on out in the buildings? I said, do you know about the crisis children that are not receiving services immediately, but those 3 or 4 kids are setting off all of our schools? I asked him, do you know about the cuckoo and crazy that's going on between principals and educators over this evaluation system that's making everybody crazy, and these SLOs that are also making everybody crazy? Now, I just came out of the classroom having just been on cycle before I became president. So I know what the evaluation system is. And I know what it's doing. And I know what discipline is doing. And I know how this is impacting our ability to provide instruction for our children. So at that point, the county executive turned and looked at me and he said, you know, you're just here on a humble. I said, on a humble? What does that mean? Like you didn't really want me here today? And then, you know how that second in your mind when you go from 0 to I'm about to jump over this table and kick somebody's behind? So you kind of lose your senses for a second. I went there real fast, but I stopped myself. And I just looked at him, and he said, you're crazy. And I said, I'm crazy. I said, yeah, we're crazy because we supported you. When you came to us and you asked us about the money for MGM grants, we supported you. You said there would be more resources for educators, and you would put Prince George's County educators on a par with our peers surrounding us. I said, you're the one who's a liar. He said, you're an effing liar. I said, no, I'm not a liar, and you're crazy. No, you're not crazy. You need to look in the mirror because you crazy. Now, I had my good suit on today. And I decided that it would be in my best interest to be a lady. And Jennifer looked at me like, hey, what you gonna do, Dudley? And I closed my book, and I gathered my things, and as he continued to run his mouth, I said a few explicatives and I walked out the window about him being effing crazy too. Now, I'm sorry. I did not let my reaction to the situation be entirely what I wanted it to be. I did not do that. But I will be a monkey's aunt before I let somebody tell me that they did right by us when he did not do right by us, when he cut the compensation piece out of the budget. I'm not playing that game with him. And he's not mad because of anything other than the fact that we showed up, we spoke up, and we stepped up. Because one of his staff members had come to me previously and told me that he was upset that I was on a bullhorn at Greenbelt saying, where's the money from MGM?
That's right. There it is.
Okay, can I get a show of hands? How many of you want me to say that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Now, I wanted to share that with you because you might hear about it from somebody that's going to say that something's wrong with your president. Guess what? Something is wrong with your president. I'm tired of you opening up your oracle and seeing 3 steps back. That's what's wrong with me. I'm tired of people peeing on me and telling me that it's raining. You can't fool everybody all the time.
No, that's right.
So, Marvin, we're going out for a Red Bull after this. What is that? No, that red stuff. What is that called? Fireball, that's what I need. But I was a fireball today. But you know what? I have to be genuine about who I am. And the one thing people know me about in this county is that I'm going to tell the truth and shame the devil. And I'm not afraid of Rashawn Baker. I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm standing here for you, and I will stand for you and for what is right. And I support our negotiations team for all of the hard work that they have been doing on our behalf to get an agreement. And that's all I'm going to say because I want them to share the good news with you. All right? So, before the negotiations team, students, I have the names typed up. You need your orange card, hold it up, and they will give you one. And I'm going to ask you to do this quietly because I'm going to have the negotiations team come up here and begin their report. I want to collected $120 to replace the Golson's 7th grader shoes. And I also want to let you know, that NEA and MSCA and PGCEA have a way for you to donate to the people in the hurricane. I sent it out in an email for the March. You need to make sure that you're checking your spam and make sure your Action Network emails aren't ending up in there.
She doesn't have an orange card up.
We need negotiations.
Yes.
And we don't get no.
Okay, so while there's a lot of commotion going on, I'm going to talk about one other thing. October the 20th. October the 20th, historically, that Friday of the convention has historically been a day off for PGCA and our schools have been closed. Thanks to our governor, or the resident of the manor, we have compressed our calendar down so that now we start after Labor Day, we have to end by June 15th. So we had to get those days compressed down. One of the days that we lost as a day off is the Friday before the convention. Now, I know some of you have said, well, that's a negotiated day off in the contract. It is not in the contract for us to be off on that Friday. However, we have been able to leverage that day off because we are participants on the calendar committee.
Voting cards?
So instead of having a whole bunch of teachers off that day, the school system always closed on that day. However, with the changes in the calendar, they had to find the days for us to be in school. Remember, it's 180 days, and then 12 days without children. This would be one of your 12, okay? So, I re-asked the head of labor relations today, because he was also at the meeting today, before the meeting got started. Could he please respond to me about what the procedure is going to be for people to be off on that day? Is it going to be a professional development day that you need to either be at the convention or the social studies meetings or the psychologist meetings or all the different meetings that happen on that Friday before the convention? Is it going to be a professional development day that the teachers need to be reporting to the building? Or is it going to be a work from home day where you can work on your grading and your planning at home? I did not get clarification on that from them today, though I have been asking for it for over a month. So what I will tell you that I know for sure is that if you are a delegate to the MSEA convention, or you decide to attend the MSEA convention, then you can take off and go to the convention, and you can bring documentation from the convention that you went. I don't know about the other types of professional leave that they're going to approve and what the process is. I know where our delegates and people who attend the MSEA convention, that's approved already. So as soon as, from what I understood from the head of ELRO, was that they would let us know within the next couple of days, and then we said, Jennifer, about October the 20th. I will say this to you. If you have leave and you use leave that day, make sure it fits into whatever the school's guidelines are. Okay? Because if you don't follow whatever those guidelines are, there's only certain categories of leave that PGCEA can run roughshod for you on. And I want to say two last little things and I'm done, okay? One is that I hope everybody has printed this out. This is the 2017 Evaluation Handbook. It's available online in your portal. A lot of people have been moved from SFE to FFT. And you need to verify with your principal what evaluation system you are being evaluated on. You also need to be cognizant of the timelines and the deadlines and what you are accountable for. This is your professional practice, okay? So I'm sharing with you the first question I'm going to ask you when you call me and say, Ms. Nash, how much my evaluation look? I'm going to say, did you download the copy of the evaluation handbook? Please get a copy of that.
From where?
Online in the staff portal. There's evaluation resources. It's in the staff portal. president@pgcea.org. I'll send you a copy, electronic. Okay? The last thing, a question. Yes?
They did?
Sheena?
Washington Board of Directors, I'd like to make a motion to extend the time by 30 minutes.
That's a little bit slow.
Okay.
Harris, one of the people in the school, second that.
Thank you. Hearing seeing no one else move to the mic, there's been a motion to move to extend the meeting for 30 minutes. All in favor, raise your cards. All opposed? And trust me, somebody's going to give me a break day out of this one. Okay? The other thing that I want to share with you, and I need you to do two things when you get back to the building. This is your homework assignment. Okay? Your first homework assignment is to make sure that everybody in your building signs up for sick leave. And that is encouraged to sign up for sick leave. Where's my pretty girl at? There she is. From Barryberry Heights. Go ahead to the mic. Go ahead to the mic and tell them the story. Now, the fact that she's walking is a miracle. Go ahead, tell the story.
Yes, I am Judy Pernia, Bradbury Heights Elementary up the road here. I have multiple sclerosis. I've had it for about 12 years, and then about 3 years ago, my ankle fell apart over Christmas break, and it required reconstructive surgery. I am not capable of the balancing of the crutches, so I was in a wheelchair for 2 months with the broken ankle and reconstruction. Thanks to sick leave bank, I didn't miss a paycheck. Then after those 2 months, I fell right after I got my cast off and had a wrist fracture of the foot. That's 4 bones broken in your foot. And I was out for 3 more months. Sick leave bank continued to cover my paychecks until I was back to work. So I cannot endorse sick leave bank enough. It allowed me to continue paying my bills even though I was out of work, probably saved my marriage. Really, it's 2 sick days, I believe, a year, that once you sign up, it is worth it, because you don't know you need it until you need it.
Thank you for sharing that story, because I couldn't have told it any better. The deadline is September the 30th. However, I am sending a letter I have drafted a letter to the school system asking them if we can leave the registration for sick leave bank open for an extra week because the school year started later. They're balancing the classes a week later. They can give us the sick leave bank open for another week. Yes?
Do you have to re-sign up for it every year?
No. Once you're in, you're in. Matter of fact, if you look on your pay stub, it'll show you where they've already deducted the days. Okay? Question?
Yeah.
And you guys are supposed to be moving to microphones, but which time is it? Just stand up and speak loud right now.
So this is in regards to sick leave bank, because I've been in sick leave bank since I've been in the county. And I had surgery, and I couldn't even get the sick leave bank. I had to take leave without pay, exhaust all my leave, all